info@talklinenetwork.com to take advantage of Talkline's powerful platform today. That's 212-769-1925.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dov Shur, and I have the song going, Zachreini Na, my hit song, which means remember me. And how can you ever forget quality? They're at a new location now with a state-of-the-art showroom at 1416 38th Street in Brooklyn, between 14th and 15th Avenue. They're serving the tri-state for over 50 years with the best in carpeting and flooring. Take down their number, 718-941-4200. Quality!
This is your number one station.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
And we're back. We're looking at who's going to be the next mayor of New York. I think there's a whole million of people running for mayor of New York. Every day seems to be somebody else coming. One of the top contenders is former city councilman, current controller of New York City, Brad Lander. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Shavua Tov, Zev. It's great to be with you.
Shavua Tov. You were just in Borough Park the other day. I see at Weiss's Bakery.
Yeah, so Friday morning before Shabbos, I went out, first to get a challah for Shabbos, but also to go with my friends, Ezra Friedlander and Chesky Blau and Penny Heikind. And yeah, we went to Weiss's. I picked up some Hamantaschen. Weiss's is great. Coffee was good, but yes, all kinds of Hamantash for the family, for the office, for friends.
And you went to Borough Park, I think, to buy Lulav and Esrog too. That's your favorite place to go to buy Jewish ritual items?
It really is. I mean, we celebrate them in the home. Actually, I still have the backyard structure that the sukkah is. But yes, I love getting the lulav and the etrog on 13th Avenue. There's nothing like what happens before a Jewish holiday in Borough Park. Many places to celebrate, but the energy on 13th Avenue is pretty special.
Certainly. There's a lot of energy, of course, going the mayoral race. So how is it coming along for you, first of all?
Look, I think it's great. New Yorkers are hungry for a safer, more affordable, and a better run city right now. I think people, hoped for that from Eric Adams. Here's somebody who had been a cop who said, I'm going to make the city safer, but there's more mentally ill people sleeping on the subways than ever, making people feel unsafe. There were promises about housing and affordability, but the rents are higher than ever. $3,500 is the asking rent for the average unit in the city. So people want someone to just run the city government well, make sure the NYPD are out there keeping us safe, get the housing to be more affordable so families could survive in this expensive and challenging city.
How is the mayor faring? I know that it looks like he won't have any problems with the federal indictment. That looks like it's going to go away. Is he going to run, in your opinion? According to some of the papers, they're saying he's not going to run for a second term. What's your opinion? Is he going to run?
I mean, you'll have to ask him that. Look, what I think is that New Yorkers don't want him to be mayor anymore. But I think some people had high hopes for him, and those hopes have been dashed. Other people, weren't so sure in the first place. But people are ready to move on. They don't want chaos. They don't want corruption. They just want good government, somebody who's honest, somebody who will make the systems deliver well, get the garbage picked up, keep the streets clean, keep the neighborhood safe. And really, I don't think this is, that's what I think all New Yorkers are looking for, across neighborhoods.
Certainly. We live in times with not only violent crime, but also anti-Semitism, which we're going to get to. Now, according to Politico, they say that the Hamas-Israel war has complicated your path to grace. You mentioned, again, you're considered more on the progressive side of politics and work with Democratic Socialists of America, Linda Sassur, those that are perceived that are anti-Israel. How has that changed, or have you changed your position? What's your position vis-a-vis Israel, considering the fact that there are people that you're working with that are certainly anti-Israel?
Well, look, let me make a few things plain and straight. I'm a proud, lifelong, very active Jew, and the highest ranking Jew in New York City government. I was the national vice president of the Reformed Jewish Youth Movement when I was in high school. I worked at Jewish summer camps, have been a leader in many, many Jewish organizations, helped found a group called New York Jewish Agenda. I'm a regular at the UJA and JCRC events. Lots of rabbis vouch for me. And look, I care deeply about Israel. I believe in its future as a Jewish and democratic state. I have visited multiple times, have friends and relatives there. And I'm inspired by the vision of its founding, of its Declaration of Independence, that idea of a state of Israel that's open for the ingathering of exiles, based on the freedom and justice and peace as envisioned by our prophets, but also a place that ensures complete equality of social and political rights to all of its inhabitants, regardless of their religion or race. I've just always believed that since I was a kid.
Doesn't Israel do that? Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East that has, you have Arabs and Muslims, and you have all different kinds of ethnic groups. People are shocked when you go to Israel to see the diversity there. You don't find that in other countries surrounding Israel.
Look, I love it and its diversity, and I have believed since I was a kid. I wrote some letters to my hometown Jewish newspaper when I was 20 years old. I was in college.
Which paper was that?
St. Louis Jewish Light, which of course my folks still read, and every time I'm in it, they're proud of me. The editor was my Hebrew school teacher, a guy named Bob Cohn. And I said then, and I just believe now, we're going to have to find a way to live in mutual recognition and peace with Palestinians, as hard as that is. I remember learning in Hebrew school when Reb Nathan said, "Who is the mightiest of the mighty? He who transforms his enemy into a friend." And it wasn't easy when I was 20 years old. Sure, has not been easy since October 7th, is not easy now. But to me, ultimately, the path has to be that way. So not everybody agrees politically, but I just kind of wear my Judaism on my sleeve. I want this city to be safe for all Jews, including visible Jews, and that's different. I mean, Orthodox Jews, ultra-Orthodox Jews are the ones who are out there wearing Judaism on their sleeves, and we have to keep them safe. That's why I'm proud to put out the most ambitious plan for reducing hate crimes and especially anti-Semitism. I was the first candidate for mayor to say I'd like to keep Jessie Tisch as police commissioner, and not only because she's Jewish, although that doesn't hurt. She's doing a good job making sure that we could keep people safe. My plan includes some really interesting ideas from the Citizens Crime Commission to use online tools to really get at extremism and violent extremism, and make sure we could keep Jews and all New Yorkers safe.
Well, that's important. But here's the thing, though. And I spoke to some of our listeners, and they said that Brad Lander, good man, but on the Israel issue, he's working with progressives like Linda Sarsour's anti-Israel, Shoshana Hanif, the city council, who's anti-Israel. You're dealing with other candidates, the Democratic Socialists of America, who are anti-Israel. Even said if you go to Israel, you can't be endorsed by them.
Well, a couple of things here. Yeah, well, let me say a few things. First of all, I've never been endorsed by Democratic Socialists of America, not one time ever. Yeah. Well, look, I work with a lot of people. When I was in the city council, I worked very closely with Dov Heikind when he was in the assembly. We did not agree on every issue, but of course we worked together and respect each other. I believe you keep wide sets of relationships, and you don't close doors. Now, I'm real clear about what I believe. So you mentioned DSA. When they sponsored or advertised that rally in Times Square on October 8th, the day after October 7th, I blasted it on that day. I said, this is heinous. How could you do this? I condemn it without reservation. And I have been loud and clear every time there was an anti-Semitic event, whether when they tagged the board members of the Brooklyn Museum, or recently Miriam, my favorite brunch spot. So I've been real loud and clear on my point of view. And I keep a wide set of relationships with people on right and left. When I disagree with them, when I think they're saying or doing the wrong thing, I call it out. I could be responsible for what I say. And when I hear something I think is wrong, I call it out. It is an important time to speak up against anti-Semitism on the right, on the left, in the center, when it comes from wherever it comes from, in graffiti and in words, in violence, in actions. And I think you'll see, I've just been out there on full look, unfortunately, since October 7th, there have been so many times one's had to be loud about it. That's again why I thought in my public safety platform, really important to make clear what I'm going to do on anti-Semitism, what I'm going to do on hate crimes more broadly. Look, I do think this spreads. We also have to stand up against Islamophobia and other kinds of hate crimes. But we also have to be real.
Anti-Semitic.
We also, as you say, have to be real. Since October 7th, the vast majority of hate crimes in New York City have been against Jews. And we have to be real about that and respond to it.
By the way, our numbers, if you want to call in, 212-769-1925, 212-769-1925. Email zev@talklinenetwork.com. The controller will be with us for a little while longer. By the way, there's so many Hammans, only one Purim. That's what I always like to joke.
That's very good.
One of my
whatever. This is the challenge in every generation. We have to,
So I want to turn to a Daily News article about Israel bonds. And the question was raised to you, would you divest the city from Israel bonds if you should become mayor of New York?
Well, first, let's be clear. I'm controller now. These are the investments. I make them, and I do not support, and I have never supported, boycott, divestment, or sanctions against Israel. The New York City pension funds are proudly invested in many Israeli-owned companies, tech companies like NICE, LTD, Elbit Systems, Mobileye, Teva Pharmaceuticals. Now, our pension funds don't invest directly in the bonds of foreign countries. So we don't have Canadian bonds or British bonds or Israel bonds. But as I say, we are invested in many Israeli companies. And no, of course, we're not going to divest from them.
Okay, good. Good. You made it very clear, because the Daily News article did raise that question. But you will not divest. You haven't. You said, and you will not divest from Israel bonds.
No, definitely not. Have never supported it. Don't support it. Won't support it.
What do you make of Andy Cuomo entering the race? According to the polls, they show that he's doing very well.
I think that's just name recognition. I just don't believe that New Yorkers want to replace, what I think of as one corrupt chaos agent with another corrupt chaos agent. Maybe some people just remember the COVID press conferences, but as New Yorkers remember, this is somebody who resigned in disgrace because he was facing sexual harassment charges from 13 women. The Justice Department found that they were well-founded. And now he's forced taxpayers to spend $28 million at least on his defense against them. They don't have taxpayers paying for their lawyers. He's issued subpoenas against them and their friends. Don't forget the COVID nursing home deaths. I know the Orthodox community does not forget the way he targeted the Orthodox community in ways that I think, if we're talking about unfair singling out of Jews that, may border on anti-Semitism, I just don't know why it was important to single out the Orthodox Jewish community in the way that he did. Sent all those seniors to their deaths in nursing homes. And don't forget, hasn't lived in New York City in 25 years. I don't know if you saw the story last week. In order to establish residency here, he seems to have moved into the apartment where his daughter was living, costing $8,800 a month. So this is not someone who's really experiencing the real struggles of New Yorkers, not somebody who's trying to solve our problems. I think this is someone who has an idea of revenge, and is maybe using New Yorkers for his own purposes, not to solve our problems.
Let's see if we can squeeze in one or two phone calls. Let's go to Stan in Forest Hill. Stan, you have a question for Brad Lander. Go ahead, Stan.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you okay, yes.
Okay. I, Mr. Landers, despise Donald Trump in every possible way. Every way. But on one thing, I agree with this guy. On congestion pricing, it's a destructive thing for New York. How do you stand on it? And do you support it?
Thank you for your call, Stan. This I'm afraid is going to be one that we might not agree on. And I hear you, and I understand why there are people who've got to drive their car into the city and are frustrated with the idea that it costs more.
Sir, I don't have a car.
So then I think look, the evidence so far is pretty good. Traffic
No,
is
it's not.
dramatically
That's
down.
not
Okay,
what people
let
pocket.
him speak. Let him
Go
speak. I'll
ahead,
let
yeah,
you
yeah,
respond.
yeah.
So go ahead.
Well,
Sure.
traffic is dramatically down. The bridge crossings are 10 to 30% faster. More people are on mass transit, and in the first month, we got $50 million to invest in subways and buses. Now, MTA has to actually put that money in the subway. I want to see more platform barriers so people aren't afraid of getting pushed onto the tracks. I want to see more of the turnstiles that people can't jump. I want to see more elevators so people could get into the subways. But, I think with Donald Trump in office, we're not going to be getting a lot of resources to invest in our subways and buses. And this is one tool we have to make them better.
Does that answer your question, Stan?
No, it does not. As I said, I despise Trump. He's stopping eliminating monies to be supported for that, and I hope he does it. This is a destructive. Maybe you don't have to take cars in every day, but a lot of people do, and have to pay through. We have enough. I'm in New York. I believe in taxing up to, but this is like a cancer. It's destroying New York. And if you're for it, you're going down. Thank you.
All right.
I respect your point of view, Stan. I really do. And it sounds like we at least agree on some things, like when Donald Trump and Elon Musk took $80 million away from New York City. I was the first one to push the city to get into court, to sue, to get it back. But the one thing I love about New York City, and certainly love about the Jewish community as well, is people with strong opinions. We got a Talmudic tradition of dispute. We've been having a lot of the same arguments, both as New Yorkers and as Jews, for a lot of years. I'll always try to listen to people, be honest about where I stand, respect other people, and say, how do we figure out how to work together to make this city run better?
By the way, you mentioned affordable housing. What can be done about that, in your opinion?
So I just put my affordable housing plan out. And my favorite part of is Zev, how many municipal golf courses do you think there are in New York City?
I have no idea.
And how many do you think we need?
Listen, there are people who do a lot of business in golfing, so
yeah, I don't know if they do it at the municipal courses. We have 12 municipal golf courses in New York City, a dozen of them. So my proposal is, let's leave 8 of them as municipal golf courses where people could go do their business. But on 4 of them, we could build 50,000 new rental and homeownership homes and provide affordable housing for a lot of families. I'd also like to get us back in doing, when we do build affordable housing, to make some more of it homeownership opportunities. That was actually something I was proud to work on in Borough Park when I was a council member with SEVCO. They were one of the few organizations that was looking to do affordable housing that people would have a chance to buy on 37th Street. And that's a good model. We should get back to it. We used to do that with the Mitchell Lama program. So I've got some ideas for how to do that. So it's a great plan. People can go to landerfornyc.com if they want to see my housing plan, my public safety plan. My number 1 plan of this campaign is to end street homelessness for people with serious mental illness. There's a great model for how to do that I've laid out in detail. Having people who are mentally ill sleeping on the subways, sleeping on the streets, cycling from subway to street to hospital to jail and back again. Not good for them, not good for anyone. So check out landerfornyc.com if you want to see my plans to end street homelessness, make housing more affordable, and keep the city safe.
Before I let you go, this is the toughest question of the interview so far, 2-part question. What's your Hebrew name? And when you go to ethnic events, you go to Jewish events, what's your favorite Jewish food?
Very good. So Borech Shmuel is my Hebrew name. Borech is fine, but but Borech Shmuel. The foods, I love them all, I have to say. Obviously it's Purim now. Actually, I'd be lying if I said that the Hamantash were my favorite. In college, I went to University of Chicago, and they had a Latka Hamantash debate where some professor would get up and defend the Latka, and some professor would get up and defend the Hamantash. And in my opinion, the Latka won every year.
By the way, when you go to the Jewish community, and I know that's an important part of voting bloc in the primary especially, what are you hearing from Jewish constituents regarding Israel and your positions? Are you getting any feedback when you're on the campaign trail?
Oh, look, New Yorkers give you a lot of feedback, and Jews give you a lot of feedback. So Jewish New Yorkers definitely give you a lot of feedback. Look, look, everyone right now is concerned with issues of safety, and that's both issues of anti-Semitism and hate crimes and issues of subway safety and mental illness and making the city safer. So I'm hearing a lot about that. And I've been honest. I say to people, look, I think progressives, myself included, were slow to reckon with the rising sense of disorder coming out of the pandemic. And that we have work to do to keep the city safe. And that's on all those issues. And that leads to a good dialogue. So
How do you get the progressives regarding Israel? You know, Richie Torres is a progressive. He's very pro-Israel. He stands up for that. How do you work with the progressives to get them to not become anti-Israel?
Well, first, to be clear, like I call myself a progressive Zionist. I'm a progressive in all these ways. I want a city that makes the housing affordable, that provides more childcare, that is inclusive and gives opportunities for everyone, regardless of where they come from or what religion they are. To me, it's progressive to deliver services well across the city, so everybody has clean streets and safe neighborhoods. It's progressive to make our schools are good for all our kids. So look, and to me, I believe in the vision of Israel as a Jewish and democratic state at peace with its neighbors. And that's what I am so eager to see. I am more critical of Netanyahu and of the Israeli government than plenty of other people. And sometimes people, say to me, I don't like when you said that thing, but I don't know. I've stood with so many hostage families who have been calling for a ceasefire because they believe that's how their family members will come back home alive. Actually, when I've done my, speaking up on these issues over the last 18 months, it's basically always been with Israelis here in New York, many times with hostage families. In Israel also, there's a real diversity of opinion. There's a diversity of opinion here. I respect people who really strongly disagree with me. And I love the tradition New Yorkers have and that Jews have of, kind of giving it to each other and being honest with each other. And I hope people will be honest with me. I will always be out there doing my best, both to be honest and then to make city government run well, so we could keep everybody safe and make this city more affordable and better run.
Will you work with Donald Trump, the president, to make the city safe?
Well, of course, look, when he takes $80 million from our bank account, I'm going to yell and scream and go into court and fight him. If he cuts Medicaid for families who need it, I'm going to fight that. But when there's opportunities to work together on policies that keep our city safe and that make it better run, absolutely. Look, I as controller, my job is to make the city agencies more efficient and run better. And, I'm open, I'm all ears for ideas for how we can do that.
Finally, you're running for mayor. Who is going to be the next controller of New York?
Well, we've got two great candidates, actually, and I know you've had them both or have one and maybe you're going to have the other on. I have to say both Justin Brennan and Mark Levine are friends. I think highly of them. I think either of them would be a good controller, and I hope your listeners will get to know both of them and make up their minds.
We're going to have you back, and we're going to squeeze in one last email. Brad Lander was councilman when he represented parts of Borough Park. I can honestly say he was always there for us, whether it was constituent service or helping Jewish organization. Brad was always a friend. That's one of your listeners in Borough Park.
Thank you. That's my motto. Like, show up, do the work,
thank you,
deliver good service.
Very good. Former councilman, controller, Brad Lander, who's running, Boris Small, who's running for mayor of New York. We hope to have you back, and we'll keep that discussion going, especially vis-a-vis Israel, because that's certainly so important in fighting anti-Semitism. It's on so many people's minds. Thank you for being part of our show.
Thank you, Zev. I really appreciate the chance to talk to you.
Thank you. Controller Brad Lander here on the Talkline Network. He wants to be mayor. It's a crowded field, 10 people. Who knows?